back in. I can't
For the
believe
chat to
that
come back up.
happened. Yeah. Ah, goodness gracious. That's okay.
Tons of
So
fun.
let's see it. Huh?
Tons of fun.
I know. Gosh. This has never happened to me when I've gone live. So, of course.
Oh, Gracie. Hey, baby.
Okay. And I want to turn that on. And
What's he
there
doing,
we are.
Grace?
Here we are.
Morning.
Okay, we're back on. Here we are. And
All right.
so Accident is back, and Michelle is back, and Shiloh's back. We've got 12 people back. Hey guys, on your way in, hit the like button for me. That would be great. Yeah, thank you. Take 3. Oh, hold on. Just a second while they're coming in.
Uh-oh. What, Grace? Oh, Grace, you got goobers in your
Okay, here we go. Take
Once again.
3.
Oh.
Okay, so now here we are. We're back. Okay, so
Take 3. Third time's a charm.
We've got almost 20 people back. Hi, Melanie.
Thank you, Karen.
Hi, Karen, sweetie. I love her. Okay. And Nikki Noodles and Tons and Shiloh, Michelle. Okay. Here we go. Let's continue. Please.
All right. Where were we?
You had split up. You went to work for sheep camp.
Okay. Yeah. I worked there for about a year, probably about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to work for an outfit up above Bags, I think, at that point. And I was cooking for the crew, and they had like 3 bands of sheep that they had in different places. And we were on the Colorado-Wyoming border at that time.
What part of the border?
Well, the border run right down the middle of our load and shoot. So, we were on the border.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. The place is called Salisbury's, and it's out of Savory, out of Bags.
Mm-hmm.
You can go the back way in the summertime and get to Steamboat on a dirt road.
Okay.
Or this way. And I helped whenever I could with the horses. When I could set up my meals and do what I needed to do and get done.
Yeah.
Then I could go out and ride. And I had a couple of colts that I was riding at that time. And I think I worked there for quite a while. And got tangled up with an Indian at that point in my life.
Is that right?
He was half French, half Indian, but he was a steel guitar player for Merle Haggard at one time. Oh, it was an interesting life I led there for a while I was footloose and fancy free, but he ended up going back to where his folks were at in New Mexico. And I kept his horse for probably a year and a half. He had a little stud horse that was a cutting horse. And I was going to
know what a cutting horse is.
They're a breed of horse that's bred to, they're quick, they're fast, they're real attentive. They're kind of like a hunting dog when they hook on to what it is they're after. they stay really focused, and they're made to cut. Like if you want all the bulls out of your cows, they'll go in there. You can ride them in there and kind of put them on a bull, and they'll follow a bull through the herd until you get them out. They're just really quick, fast little horses that um
That's my job.
and anyway, that was an interesting year. It really was. It's I've had a lot of encounters with a lot of horses, and if you notice, every now and then when I smile, I'm missing a tooth on this side. I had a barrel horse. He didn't buck me off, but he might as well have. He banged me in the face with his head and dumped me, and I was hanging on to him. So when I first lesson learned is I got pissed, and I should never have gotten mad at him. I got back on, and the next thing I remember was waking up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And the only thing I could think of was not to call my mom and dad. Please don't call my mom and dad. And they already told me it was too late. My mom was halfway into town already. So it was a tough year for my mom and dad that year, but that was pretty minor. I just peeled some hide off my face, and I was really lucky and lost this tooth. And I keep it as a reminder not to lose my temper with anything or anybody anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a reminder. I've had people ask me to get it fixed before, and I probably could, but it's a pretty good reminder of me to keep my patience and my temper under control. And I don't come out on top of the pile very often. If I do, it I get beat up every now and then. I let my temper get away from me.
Me
So
too. Me too.
yeah.
I think that is terrific. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so I want to ask you about that a little bit. How has that been a challenge in your life? Or
How
has
is
it?
what?
Has
What's
that been
that?
a challenge in your life?
I can't hear you very good.
Has that been a challenge in your life to not lose your temper?
Not after that horse took my tooth out. No.
Oh,
Um, it made a believer out of me in more ways than one.
mhm.
I actually was working with a lady on the racetrack, and I was ponying racehorses at the time because I was a little too heavy to be riding racehorses at that. You needed to be under 120 pounds to. I'd breeze them once in a while, but not very often. And she uh, she's still. I'm going to say I'm in the later years of my 60s. I'm in the last of my 60s this year. Next year is my 60s are going to be gone. And the lady that was helping me with the racehorses and stuff is in her 80s, going to be almost 90 this next year, and she run racehorses still last year. So she gives me faith and hope, and don't quit, just keep going, and you're going to get where you want to go. I wish I'd known that old adage that they say, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd taken better care of myself. I'm working on that now.
Oh, how did you not take care of yourself?
Oh, just normal stupid stuff that you do as you're growing up. Um, not eating good. Um, Basically, I think right now where my mind's at is that was the biggest problem I had was not eating good. When you're on the road and you're on the run, you don't eat good. You just eat whatever's handy, and your liver doesn't like it, your kidneys don't like it. You're fat, you just get fat. That's all there is to it. And it took a while for me to really decide that that's not where I want to be with my life. And you got
Yeah.
to take control. You just got to do it
Yeah.
and pick up the pieces and start learning. I cook pretty much all my own food anymore. My husband now and I do not go out and eat very often at all.
I or
No, well, you can't. You're
yeah.
stuck.
Yeah. I've gained so much weight because of the medication I have to take. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
that'll that will do it. But go on, go on.
Yeah. Um, I kind of lost where I'm at here.
Okay.
Uh, just getting healthy again, and that's my goal right now. Is I've still got one horse left, and she likes me. Thank God. She don't like nobody else, and she's not very nice to nobody else. But so far, she's being nice to me. So as long as she's nice to me, she's got a home.
Hey,
And
I understand that. That's how easy it was.
uh-huh. As long as he was a handful. That horse was a handful. There were big men that had trouble with that horse, but a little bit of love and a little bit of care, and they will respond to you. They're I know he did to you. It was amazing what that horse, how that horse felt about you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see horses just outright do that very often.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, the first time I got on him after you dropped him off and everybody left, and he bucked me right off, and I went right down that hill, and I got back up, and I was limping, and
oh no.
no, you get back on.
Yeah, you do. You got to
Yeah.
get back on.
Mm-hmm. And I did, and then he darn near tore my round pen down. And so what I did was
Thank you, Mohammed.
I take isn't he
Yeah.
sweet? I took a chair out there and sat there in the middle of the pen for hours.
Huh.
And yeah, and that's what he started trusting me. Yeah. So but
Good
so
deal.
anyway, let's go on. Um so then where were we?
Where were we in my life? Uh, I kind of jumped around a little bit there for a bit, but because I was in college, I was just out of college when the horse took my tooth out. Um, and then I went to work for the outfit that had yearlings over by bags,
Mhm.
and uh, through no fault of my own, I think I'm hoping I had to leave that job. Um, it was just kind of like a misunderstanding as to where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And I went to work for the people with the yearlings at that time, and we had like 3,000 head of yearlings that we were trailing up. And yearlings aren't easy to trail to begin with because they've got
People don't know what yearlings are.
what's that,
Some,
kiddo?
some people don't know what a yearling is.
Okay, yearling is a beef cow, probably a year old.
Mhm.
Uh, that we are going to summer range them because they gain so much better. They're better muscle tone. They're better health if you can leave them out to pasture as long as you can without having them in a feedlot for the next 6 to 8 months. Um, it takes about a month and a half, maybe 2 months to finish one out with grain after you get them in. So once they get in and you take them in to a feedlot, then you can finish them and put the fat in the muscle that you want. But you got a better structured program with your animal if you bring it out of off the land and then
Mhm.
into, instead of something that you've raised and just moved it from one paddock to the next paddock to the, and keep them in a feedlot all their life. They just don't, their bodies don't hold up good.
Yeah. And a paddock is like a
It's just
stall,
a
a cage.
large, no, it's, their paddock is a large enclosed, could be an acre
Oh,
of
okay. Like
ground.
one of those big ones.
You know, yeah, when you've got a bunch of them and you're moving them from one spot to the other, they'll move them like mm, mm, from one of the enclosed areas into another to clean the pens and get everything sorted out. And you have to stay on top of it because they get foot rot, they get pneumonia, they get you start and closing anything in, and it's going to get sick on you if you don't watch it.
Okay.
That goes for us too.
Mhm. Mhm. So, let's talk about uh you cowboying and getting right in and ranching.
Like I said, I've kind of been into it off and on most all my life. Uh, it seemed like we were just always in with a crowd. Miles Land and Livestock, we used to help them. Garrett's, which is my mom's sister and her family. We spent a lot of time moving cows, constantly moving cows somewhere.
What does that
And
mean when you say moving cows?
pardon?
What does that mean when you say moving cows? Or is pushing cows the same?
Same, I think. Same. We'll push them out onto the BLM or the lease ground in the spring, and then in the fall we bring them back so we can wean the calves, pull the
Mm-hmm.
calves off the mamas, and give the calves a chance to to I don't know, when you take a baby calf and you send it right to the feedlot, you're going to get a lot of disease in them. Not so much disease, but pneumonia, um, breathing issues, all to, because they're just not used to it. They're used to having their mom still,
Mm-hmm.
and so they tried to not. I think at that point we tried not to push them right on a truck and send them away.
Yes.
Uh,
And
and
go on, go on.
going.
No, go on, go on.
Gone. Anyway, life kind of happened to me, and I had a baby boy, and I spent. I still rode quite a bit, but I had 7 head of horses when I met my second husband, and when he asked me to marry him, it's like I'm not sure if he really realized just exactly what he was getting into. Because
Oh my gosh, I love it.
he was raised on a ranch.
Mm-hmm.
But he was uh, actually kind of afraid of horses because his brothers weren't very nice to him. They always gave him something that kicked him or bit him or bucked him off, or he just had no respect for a horse at all because they didn't he was never around a nice horse, period.
Yeah.
And
The youngest?
pardon?
Was he the youngest child?
No, no, he was probably in the middle. He was a twin. And yeah, he was a twin. His sister and him were kind of in the middle of the family, kind of. And
Mm-hmm.
and the Murdoch family is an old time rancher and out of Big Piney, Wyoming. And he would help his folks as much as he could, but he had asthma really bad, so he couldn't get into the hayfield.
Mhm.
I don't think the horses bothered him quite so bad because I kind of drug him through the pasture every now and then, and just to help me move panels or do something. So
Yeah.
he got to where he could trust my horses quite a bit. But I had a stud, a mare, and 3 colts when we got married, and it took him a long time to trust being around them horses because they just weren't very nice to him at the
Oh,
ranch at all. And when I first married him, well, I guess before we got married, he went to see my dad. Well, my husband's a biker who laid the chunk around here. I mean, he's been a biker all of his life. He was the only kid in the family that didn't stay there at the house. He moved out and got a life on all his own. But he went from country to a biker scene. And so when I met him, um, I had my 7 head horses, and bless his heart, he did everything he could to try and get us set up and get me set up, and he bought me my first Harley as a wedding, a kind of a "Will you marry me?" Harley. So I never got a ring, but I got a big bike, so that was cool.
I remember seeing a picture, your wedding picture, with you guys. You are in a wedding dress and he's all decked out, and you guys rode off. And here's your thing flying in.
Yeah,
I remember that.
it's been quite the deal because I would help his folks or his family, I guess we could call it. But they're one of the oldest ranching um communities that they move their cows like 90 miles. We trail cows 90 miles from his family up to the mountains in the spring.
Up to the Upper Green.
Upper Green. So it's a 90-mile trail. It's a good 12 days of riding, pushing cows. We'll get them we'll push them to water and settle them, make sure everybody's got their babies with them, and leave them there that night. So in the morning, right about the time the sun come up, you'd get back on and get going again because it gets so hot during the day that if you don't get moved early while it's still cool, everything bogs it down. You just don't get very far with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and this year I spent all 12 days. I spent more than that, but spent 15 days because we rode the desert, getting everything pulled out to get them on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And the first couple of days, my butt got pretty sore because I haven't been riding very much this year. So it took me 2 days to just kind of toughen up again. But
Right.
after that, it was piece of cake. It was
So
actually really nice to us this year because it didn't snow and rain and hail on us. So I was grateful for that.
now tell us a little bit. I know about the Upper Green, and Hugh knows about the Upper Green, one of our subscribers, but these people don't know what the Upper Green means.
Ah, if you get a map out and look at the map, it's up out of it's in the Wind River Range, part of the Wind River Range that where we push the cows. But the Green River Lakes area has, I'm going to say there's probably 5 or 6 ranchers around the Big Pinedale area that push cows up that way. So there's sections that are like 20 miles apart that
Mm-hmm.
so and so will take their cows to this part and so will take their cows to that part. And with us being the tail end of the drift is the Green River Drift. And if you ever get a chance and you want to know more about it, look it up on YouTube, because I did a documentary on it a few years back, and it is really good. It explains a lot of why we do what we do and how come we do it. But it's a tradition that has been going on for a long, long, long time. I honestly couldn't tell you, because I don't know for sure myself. I just know that um, I feel pretty blessed to be a part of that type of community, and that not everybody gets to do that. It's really kind of a um, the words escape me.
Yeah.
Um, pri-
Privilege.
privilege, yeah, it definitely is that. It definitely is that. I posted every one of my trips on Facebook last year, so it was fun. It's fun.
So there's a couple questions that came up in here before we move on. Michelle would like to know, why do you constantly keep moving the cows?
Well, when in this early spring, when the cows are heavy, and that means they're going to have babies anytime, we got to bring them in and get them closer to the house so we can watch, especially the first timers, because they're just dumber than a box of rocks sometimes. And they'll have a calf, but they won't take care of it. And so you've got to be on top of that, because if you're not, you'll lose that calf.
So,
And
what do you mean by you have to intervene? What do you have?
you'll take that mama, and generally you can tell when a cow's just calved, and then the new baby is not going to be up moving around. So you can gather up the baby and herd her into a barn, and it's called a calving shed. And there is like a 12 by 12 stall that we will put them in together. And if she doesn't mother up with that calf, then she'll get tied up and hobbled, and she will take the calf one way or the other. And we
Mhm,
haven't ever had one that wouldn't take a calf after you have left them together for about 4 or 5 days.
mhm.
Uh,
Okay, okay.
every now
And
and then pardon?
Hugh was also saying that it's also to not overgraze the area.
That's the reason we move them up to the mountains in the spring, because we need them off that fertile ground that's around the ranch, so we can put up hay to get them through the winter.
Mhm,
Uh, that ground will be we'll cut everything as far as grass goes off of that piece of ground and put it up in hay. And then when we bring all the cows back off, that matter of fact, here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we've actually had snow up there. So the cows are probably wanting to come home pretty bad as it is. But as soon as they start coming down, they'll just start opening gates up where the cows are at. And
mhm,
that's where the drift comes in, because these cows will drift back home. They all pile up just about where I live, out about 5 miles outside of Pinedale.
mhm.
There's a place called the Cutting Grounds, and they're just across the road from where I live.
Okay.
And the cows will pile up in that little area, which is Trapper's Point, if you ever get a chance to look it up. And they'll shut that all off, and then they'll sort the cows to Swain's cows going one way. The other Murdoch family will take their cows another way. There's actually two of the Murdoch families there. So one of them goes up towards Pinedale. There's Roberts. There's a new ranch, and I can't remember the name of the outfit right now, but they've got a lot. Rendezvous used to bring in a lot yearlings, so you're constantly working all of them cows, and then whatever they don't pull out, like with Wardell's and our cows, the Murdochs, and they will just drift on down country. They open the gate and just let them move at their own pace down country. And down at the other end, they'll sort them again. And we do that for it goes on for about 10, 11 days. And after we get all that done, then we all load up in our trailers and go clean up to the top where Green River Lakes is at and do a lot of back riding. Some cows just don't come out of the mountains, and you got to drag them out. You just got to go get them.
How do you know if you're them? Do you have a head count? Oh, no! Oh, one moment! No! No! Oh no! No! Oh no!
Okay.
Sorry. The son came home.
Oh, okay.
You know him. So, Nicole, Jane is wanting to know, with a 90-mile trek, are you sleeping outdoors? Are you camping? What are the accommodations?
Back in the old days, they did follow the cows with a camp. Nowadays, with all the modern trucks and trailers and stuff, we usually go home at night. As soon as we get all the cattle settled on a water area where they're quiet, they're tired, they don't want to go very far anyway. You're going to have cows that um they've been on this route 5, 6 years, and so they know where they're going. And we try really hard not to run over the guy that's in front of us, like Wardell's will go before us. And we give him a 2-day leave. And it
That's another rancher.
yeah, another rancher that is on the drift. Anyway, we try to keep him 2 days ahead of us, but there are a few head of our cows that are going to just march down that road, and they will mix with his cows. We, like I said, we try really hard not to let them do that, but there's some of them that just they're the first ones up there, and generally they're the first ones back here. We keep them ear tagged so we know which cows that we have to watch. The
And
babies
that's
will
by
have
different colors and
yeah.
stuff. So,
And the
oh,
babies will have the same numbers, so we can tell who mama and the baby are.
mhm.
Sometimes the moms are really good and they'll keep track of them, and other times by the time we get 4 days on the trail, we got a whole bunch of babies in the back because mamas will just run right off and leave them. And so we got to slow everything down and let the mamas will eventually lose their mind up there and turn around and come back after their babies because they can't find them. And they
Oh,
will go, if they can't find them in that little pile that we got, they will go back to where they last seen their baby. So we try really hard not to let that happen because they turn back and want to go back really bad. And if you know that that cow's calf is in there because of the number and she's still trying to go back, you can't let her go back. You just got to make sure that she finds her baby before she runs over the top of you and want to go back to where she last seen him.
so Muhammad wants to know about the different colors. Could you explain that a little bit more?
The ear
The ear.
tags.
Mm-hmm.
Most every rancher has a color, a tag, and an earmark. So when the babies are branded in the spring, they'll earmark them, and they should have already a tag because as soon as the babies are born, somebody will go out and ride around and tag the calf so that it's got the same tag as the mama. And they just do that because they're easier to catch when they're first born. If you let them get a couple days old, or you got to have a racehorse catch them, and
A
get them
color.
roped, and actually get them roped and held down so you can tag them. If you can get them before they get very old, you don't have to chase them down. But if they get very old, they'll get away from you if you're not careful.
Now, I want to back up just a little bit. Tell me about the Murdoch Ranch. How did that ranch come about? And the location is prime. I've been to that ranch a few times. I love it.
It goes back quite a few years when they homesteaded the area.
Okay. What homesteading means?
Well, back when the territory was still young, people could go and apply for a plot of ground. This place is really special because there's a triangle of land that is between the Green River and the New Fork, and it sections off. I mean, you got the Green River on the right hand side of the ranch and the New Fork on the left hand side of the ranch. And I think mine's still out there, I'm hoping.
Oh yes, out there with the boys.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you've got to build a house on it, improve your ground on it. But this ranch has been there since they had the homesteading clause, where you could go in and it's probably 4 or 5 generations that I know of now that went back to that. We lost quite a few of the family members over the last 5 years, and Joe's sister and her family have taken the ranch over finally, and they're settling in and building their own haying crew right now. They're only like, the baby's not born yet. Then there's a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So it's going to take a while to get the haying crew up and running, but they're working on it.
Yeah, and they'll get it done. They'll get it
Oh
done.
yeah. Oh yeah.
On time. Wow. And so 4 or 5 generations. 60, that's 100 years.
At least, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been there. They've been there a long time.
And so then I know that lately when people pass away and they have land, a lot of the kids aren't interested in it.
Not anymore. Well, it's a labor of love because it's hard work. I mean, it's 24/7. It is 24/7. You constantly are either putting hay up, calving cows, moving cows to the mountain. And you got to reprieve a little bit once the cows come back from the mountain. And you got maybe a couple of weeks and you pull the calves and separate your your replacement heifers, which are the next batch that will be coming up next year. You keep a certain amount of them to replace the old cows that you have to sell off. And then there's a little bit of a reprieve in there where you get a little bit of time to yourself, and you can take your family and go someplace and do something different until it starts snowing, and then you got to start feeding your hay, and you got to be there every day for that.
And how many head of cattle does the Murdoch Ranch have?
I'm assuming because I don't count them, but there's got to be about 500-600 head.
Wow. That's even bigger than the Miller Ranch.
No, I don't know. Miller's got a lot of cows.
Yeah.
They just got them scattered everywhere. I do know, like the Jenny that I work for, they have about 800 to 1,000 head, depending on whether or not they've got yearlings that they're running with the cows or just exactly what they're going to be doing.
Now, how come you're not working with the Murdoch Ranch?
First off, they don't need anybody else to come in and really work. They got family and
Oh,
they can always call me. They know
gotcha.
that. You know, when you get, well, like haying season, you only need 3 or 4 people, and they've got that there at the ranch now with
Mhm.
Joe's sister, her husband, their daughter, his husband, her husband, and they bale hay up, and then somebody just goes by and picks it up and puts it in a stack yard. So it's really a something that's just easily done.
Mhm.
You just do it, and if you don't have any breakdowns, and if it doesn't rain all over your hay, you usually can get put up pretty fast.
Okay. Okay. Now, we have another question. Is it hard to get into ranching or to become a ranch hand?
Just depends on how hard you want to work at it, because it's daylight to dark 90% of the time.
Mhm.
If you go to work for a ranch outfit, they will try to get you days off. But if you are going to commit yourself to a ranch, if you were to purchase the ranch and commit yourself to a ranch, it's 24/7, and you got to be on top of it, all
Mhm.
aspects and ends of it. Um, or it will get on top of you. You won't, you lose cows. If you don't got a good ranch hand that can read cows and know what they're going through and know what they're doing, you'll lose cows to pneumonia. You'll lose them to, um, there's all kinds of different brisket disease. There's just, um, with us being up as high as we are in altitude, we can't just buy a cow off of the market and bring it up here, because it won't survive. They get what they call a brisket's disease, and it's a lung issue that they just have problems. You
Yeah.
got to have, if you're going to buy cows, you better buy it from somebody in the same type of altitude that you are in.
Yep.
Um, there's so many different things that can go wrong, and um, I've been trying really hard to get me a milk cow until I got around a milk cow, and I would just as soon go buy my milk from the lady that has the milk cow now, because it's cows are like sheep. They're just a milk cow. Let's put it say a milk cow is just like sheep. They're looking for some place to have an accident on you somewhere. They're constantly, they have milk fever. They get sick.
Yeah.
There's always something going on with them.
Mhm.
What you
Mhm.
come up here? Come up here to
So,
eat. Okay.
um, the Murdoch Ranch is very, very special to everybody around. It really is. You hear a lot of good things about the Murdoch Ranch.
Well, that's probably good, because there, when I first married into it, it was they would ask me, and I just have to say that depends on who you're talking about, because sometimes I'm related and sometimes I'm not related.
Gotcha.
They were a rough and rowdy crew. Um, Joe's brothers growing up they were, yeah. Everybody knew who they were. Let's put it that way.
But they grew up.
Grew up mostly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. So now let's talk about the Jenny. Tell us what the Jenny is. Oh wait, but before that, about 7 or 8 years ago, there this ranch called the Jenny was sold, and then a family bought it. And that's all that we knew. So go into the Jenny.
The people that own the little Jenny are um ranchers at heart. Let's put it that way. Um the wife, she comes in and she does quite a bit of the work around the main house. And when we first retired, my husband and I, when we first retired, we were spending a lot of time in Arizona. Well, when COVID hit, um, we come back here, and like I said before, when you're married and both working, you get a break from one another. And when COVID hit and we were, um, uh, I just told my husband, I got to have a job because some of that, one of us isn't going to live very long if I don't have a job somewhere.
That's right. Either I'm going to unalive you or you're going to unalive me.
Something like that. Yeah. I just need to I still cook breakfast and I cook dinner and I make sure he's got fresh bread and stuff, but I'll go to the Jenny probably 3 days a week. Um, I'm right now going to have to be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because the boss lady's first dog that she raised on the ranch is going to have puppies, and nobody knows when because they don't know when. Yeah, she got out. Let's put it that way. Nobody knows when she's going to have puppies, and nobody on the ranch wants to be responsible. So I've got to step up there and take on kind of that responsibility for a while so that um usually dogs don't have too much trouble having puppies, but they'll surprise you every now and then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Hugh, Hugh is another Wyomingite, and
oh, cool.
he used to live in Jackson long time ago, and now he lives at by Gillette,
Oh, cool.
your area, your family
Yeah,
area.
my mom was raised outside of Gillette, between Wright and Gillette's where my mom was raised.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not sure how my mom and dad got together because my dad was raised around Piney area for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
Casper area. But I would go spend summers with my aunt and uncle outside of Gillette. And my mom and dad finally decided I had to quit doing that because every time I come home, I drug a horseback with me. And
You are always dragging a horse somewhere with you, Nicole.
I would bring something back with me just about every fall when I went back to school. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was it was they were great people. They were good people for me. But he raised horses and whatever he constantly had something he didn't want to sell to the sale barn or something, and I talk him out of it. So it went well until I had to tell my mom and dad.
Well, now Q is asking. He said, "How many out-of-staters are buying up the ranch land in that area, like they did in Jackson?"
I couldn't tell you how many are. I do know there's a there's quite a few wealthy people that have moved in to the country and are buying up a lot of ground, but so far they're not raising cattle. I don't know what they're doing with the ground at the moment. So um they're just buying up a lot of country. I don't know what I don't exactly know what they're doing with it. I'm really happy that the family that bought the little Jenny is is keeping it agricultural. They're raising cattle. They did just buy an outfitting business just above the ranch, which is
Oh.
easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to get up there every chance I got. So they take horseback rides, and in the winter they take snowmobile trips out of there.
You
And
know,
it's beautiful country.
yeah, it's gorgeous back there. It's gorgeous. Real quick, why is it called the Jenny or Little Jenny?
Um, the people that first built the ranch had a daughter named Jenny,
Mm-hmm.
and her little footprints and handprints are on the hearth there at the ranch. It's pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Um. Oh, go ahead.
yes, we do.
Yeah, Sheen, you're answering Sheen's question. Yes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sheen Bean knows that we lose cows. She's a kind of an old family friend, but yeah, we do.
Oh, hi, Sheen.
Um,
Welcome.
yeah, Sheeny. Um, we'll lose about 20% sometimes. We keep a day rider or a range rider with our cows all summer long, and they document all the bear kills or all the wolf kills, and we get reimbursed for any of that they get. So we're not out totally, but it's kind of sad sometimes when you get home and you're down 20% calves, or you know and it's sometimes kind of hard to prove that uh what has actually killed that animal unless they're right there and they see it happen.
Yeah.
They've got a
Yeah.
lot of ground they're covering out there.
Is because I know about that country back there, and but is it grizzly country? Is it wolf country?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. The wolves have smartened up because we've been able to shoot at them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're staying higher up out of our space, but the bears have absolutely um no predators against them. So they're taking over pretty good. They'll start coming down into the towns here pretty soon when there gets to be too many of them up there. They'll push each other out of their areas. The big boars that are up there will make sure that the young ones don't stay in their space. And they'll start moving down into where somebody's going to have to start taking it a little bit of um
Little aggression.
yeah, yeah, they're going to have to start doing something with them. um Short of, even the problem bears now, they can't take and relocate them because they're relocating them up where there's so many bears now that the bears are just kicking them back out again anyway.
Oh,
They don't stand a chance. So if I think that they are terminating some bears, but you
okay.
don't hear about it much.
No,
They
grizzly.
don't want to put it out there where they are actually.
Yeah, no. Are we talking grizzlies?
Yes,
Okay, okay,
grizzlies. Yeah,
yeah. Uh,
Mohammed. My maiden name is Kelsey.
and Jane is asking, what do you do for entertainment, or are you just too exhausted and watch TV?
I have figured that when I can't get up and move around anymore, I'll watch TV because now I've got my horse at my house and I ride quite a bit. I cook quite a bit. Um, I constantly make bread and keep that available because I don't like the store-bought stuff anymore. So we're canning peaches. I bought a steer that I
Show,
raised him really.
yeah, go ahead.
I raised him actually, and he's tougher than a boot, so he's going in jars every chance I get. Uh,
Well,
he's
here is some of the. Yeah, I had to show everybody. Okay, this is some of the beef she's talking about. She canned some of the beef from a steer she had.
Yeah, yeah. When you can them and put them in a jar, they're a lot more tender. And on top of that, they make a really quick, fast meal. If I come in and I don't have a plan, I can take that can, mash it up, open it up, and dump a little bit of taco seasoning on it. Put it on a burrito, and I got canned beans that I got constantly too. So I put my beans and my meat and my lettuce on a burrito, and that's what we get for supper a lot of the times.
Hey, well, how how many pints do you can from that steer?
Well, I
Go.
haven't got him all canned yet, so um, I've probably got about 6 cases of him, of them pints that I've got at home.
Cases?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And then she does peaches. She canned a bunch of peaches.
You got to do something with them, and you get a couple of boxes of peaches, you can't eat them all.
No,
So
no.
they've got to go. Yeah, yeah,
And then brought me some fresh milk from a dairy cow that is just right down the road. I've
yep.
got to check that out. I really do. And then here's some of her sandwich bread that she makes. Yeah. So, okay. So, oh gosh, that smells so good. I can't wait. Um, so Nicole, tell us a little bit more about the Jenny. What exactly do you do for the Jenny?
I hired on basically to clean the house because when we come back with COVID, that's what they needed somebody to do, and I figured I can do that easy peasy. And so I stepped in there and started. It's a big, huge log house, and it is. If you don't keep up with it, you'll never catch up with it because it's so big that you dust all the logs in it. You got to keep the dog hair vacuumed up because if you don't, it crawls up the logs too. And it's there's constantly people going in and out, so you're constantly remaking beds and cleaning rooms and bathrooms.
Mhm.
I do have a helper now, so I get cut loose every now and then where I can go up to the cabin and go up and cook and spend the night up there.
Mhm.
Um, we've
What
got
do you mean by
guests.
go up to the cabin?
And it's an old outfitter's cabin called Craig Cabin, and it is on the register now as a landmark.
Oh,
And um I will have to drag you up there one of these days. It's
it's not
really, really
far.
pretty. It's really
Yeah.
pretty, and you can drive up to it. Um So in the wintertime, when we get guests going out on snow machines, they'll come in about 10 o'clock and take off, and they'll take them on a really nice scenic route up to the cabin. And I'll leave about 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning on my sled and go up to the cabin. I start all the fires, get all the food warmed up, and they'll show up about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. um, I'll feed them all, get everything put back together, and they'll take off, and then I'll take off. And I've
Okay.
only been stranded up there once, where I
Tell us
couldn't get
about
my
that.
sled started, but
Tell us about
they
that.
come looking for me. Uh Cat, yes, website. It's really an interesting little ranch. They are doing so much right now. Right now, they're raising all their own beef to sell to private people. We actually are selling it to a place in Jackson called Sweet Cheeks,
Oh,
where we take the meat and get it butchered. It's USDA approved, and they're selling probably. I'm gonna I'm gonna guess maybe 4 or 5 head a month to private people.
okay.
We go to the farmers market in Jackson all summer and cook hamburgers and
Hmm.
sell the meat and the chickens, the eggs that we get from our chickens. They don't bring any of them back, so every
Oh,
now and then I run over to the chicken coop and steal chicken eggs before they get them because they don't bring any
mhm.
back.
I don't have my chickens anymore. They all died in the fire. Um,
Yeah.
badly again. I'm thinking about doing it again, and because I loved having them.
They're
Well,
they're they're fun.
and you saw, because people in the chat, they can't believe that you can train chickens, but my girls were trained.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
can.
they're like every other critter. People don't think they're as smart as they are, but they'll surprise you
Oh
that
yeah,
if you
yeah.
if you know how to push the right buttons on them, you can get them to do just about anything. They're
Yeah,
fascinating animal.
they are. They are.
Mhm.
Now, um, hold on. I just had it and I lost it. Darn it. Here it is. It's back. It's back. Um, Now, a few years back during COVID, our governor said the ranchers can sell meat directly to the consumer and eliminate the middleman. Is
Mhm.
that what you are talking about?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. They've been selling it for about 3 years now that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting into making our own lotions and stuff with the kidney tallow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're rendering our own fat now, which we're putting in jars and saving it for cooking. We take it up to
I
the
love.
cabin.
Mhm.
Makes really, really good pie crust.
Oh, I didn't know
Really
that.
good.
I
Oh
have a
yeah.
bunch of tallow that uh uh the not Murdoch's here, the Murdoch that the Marin Six gave me.
Oh yeah.
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 And the Marin Six, they are another rancher, and that's who I buy my beef through.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so now I can ask you questions for days, but I'm gonna let the chat jump in here. So, can you tell question from Muhammad. How do you know if the chicken eggs are fertilized or not? Like, what if you crack it and there's a chick?
We went through a phase with the chickens 1 year, well, months ago now, that you go in and you pick your chicken eggs and you wash them and you put them away. You shouldn't have any trouble. It's the ones that you miss, um, and how you miss, because a chicken, it takes 21 days for, um, I'm going to say maybe 19 days, really, where the egg will develop into a baby chick.
Oh,
We do have a rooster running. If all else fails, you take the rooster out of the equation and you don't have a problem with it.
exactly.
But he also protects all the chickens. If you bring a strange person in there, even to gather eggs, he w- he
They come after you.
he he will challenge you. He will challenge you, and it's uh y- you can't be faint of heart, because you got to get a hold of him and slap him down on the ground and sit on him, and then he'll leave you alone. Uh,
Yeah.
and I've had to sit on him a couple times now, but he he has learned that certain people you just don't mess with. We
Mhm.
do have a new gal out there that's going and collecting eggs, and the rooster gets her every now and then, and some of the hens do. I told her, I said, you need to put a glove on when you reach up under the hen to get an egg, because there's a couple of them that have drawn blood on her a couple times.
Yeah.
Um, they're broody and they're wanting to sit on eggs, and they don't want you to have them.
Yeah. Not at all. But
No.
my girls did pretty good because my girls were never around a rooster ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one.
And on top of that, I don't understand how we got eggs that had chicks in them, because we have had a few. Um, but it, like I said, it takes 20. How do you miss gathering an egg for 21 days, or 19 days even? I don't know
I
where it's hiding at that point.
see my girls.
I
They're.
don't know how you
I mean, a lot of times I would just have to stuff my hand under because I'd have a broody chick, and I'd just have to
Mhm.
stuff my hand under and grab like 5 of them, you know?
Yeah, 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 you have to do that.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, you gotta be aggressive. The boss's daughter is the one that runs the ranch, and she is constantly busy, but she goes in there like a little tornado, and if there's a broody one sitting on the nest, she don't stick her hand in, she just grabs a chicken out of the nest, and the chicken doesn't get a chance to even squawk about it. She drags her out of the nest and puts her on the ground, and then she goes back and gathers up all of the eggs. So,
Yeah.
um,
Kathy Kennedy had a rooster. And at first, that chick was named Reba, and then Reba became Reggie. And you know how the Kennedys would travel a lot, and so I'd
mhm.
go, would go take care of their chickens. And the rooster Reggie was fine with me, but anybody else, that rooster would come after you if he didn't know you. No, it's not okay.
Yeah, they will try to put the fear of God in you, but you really, it's like I was telling this other gal that come in there, you're bigger than he is. Well,
Yeah.
don't let him buffalo you, because all you got to do is turn around and grab him. He isn't going to. He's not gonna. He doesn't have any spurs yet, so he's still pretty young. But
Hmm.
all you got to do is grab him and hold him down a little bit, and he'll quit. He'll
Yeah.
quit charging you.
Yeah.
It was the same with the sheep. The guy with the sheep that told me that I needed to control the sheep. You wrestle them to the ground and hold their nose shut until they quit kicking, and then you can let them up. They don't bother you no more.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
No.
Oh my goodness. So, um, at the Jenny, how many ranch hands are there?
Oh, in the summer when we've got fencing crew and haying crews, there's probably about 20 altogether.
Okay.
Individuals. They
Mm.
built a big bunkhouse last year because we needed the help but had no place to put them. So they built them a really nice bunkhouse. So we've got a bunkhouse that'll sleep probably 14 people. And then we've got 2 outbuildings that we put, like the ranch hand, the ranch manager that takes care of the cows has a house, and his family. And then we have the outfit and crew that they've got their house and their family.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of different houses that are available on the ranch for working families.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they cleared out a bedroom and a bathroom for me, so I get to stay in the big house every now and
So you
then.
go home when
In
you're
the winter time, it doesn't make sense for me to go home and then
no,
turn around and come back.
not in the
Uh,
winter.
no. And
Winter
sometimes in the summer.
winters are very rough in this area where we're
Mhm,
at, and
mhm.
the Jenny is in this area where I'm at. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, how much longer are you going to do this? Do you think?
As long as I can.
Yeah, because
Oh,
you are one
yeah, yeah.
lady, I'll tell you, you're one tough lady. Yeah, and one precious sweetheart.
Well,
So
you are too. You are too. You're amazing. You are
well,
amazing. There's just nothing more you can say about it. But yeah, as long as I can still swing a leg over my horse and crawl in the kayak, I'm going to keep doing it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, um, a couple of people have mentioned field trip. So, when I go out there, is there a signal for
Not
the?
very good.
Oh,
As you know, the previous times that I've tried talking with you, The best
Yeah.
you could do is go out and video and that part of it.
Yes.
And then, but if you get on the link that Kat put on there, that Kath put on there, you can see a lot of what the Jenny is all about and how
Hmm.
big it actually really is.
Yeah.
Um,
Acres is the Jenny? Do you know?
Pardon?
Do you know how many acres the Jenny is?
Um, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking 3,000 acres, but I'm not sure. There's a lot more ground that is permitted for them to run the cows on and stuff, but the private ground I think is I'm gonna say about 3,000 acres.
Hmm.
It will tell you on that documentary about the little Jenny on YouTube how many acres it was it to start with.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what else is very interesting? People in the chat, there are some documentaries also about how families came to uh, homestead up here, and then how the ranches all stay within that family. And it's pretty interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
watch that one about the little Jenny for sure. I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got documentaries on just about everything anymore on YouTube. The Green River Drift.
Mm.
They've got a good one. They've got one on the little Jenny. Um, and now that they've got their website up, you can get on there and check out what the snowmobile tours are about and what the horseback riding is all about. We've got people that we take out for 3 or 4 days on pack trips.
I'd like.
Um, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful country. You do have to share it with the bears. We got 3 boars that are up at the cabin or around the cabin now. And I actually, when I go up by myself, I will take a dog. I've got a couple of dogs. Mine can't run fast enough to get away from a bear, so I won't take her up there. But
Yeah.
there are 3 dogs that I've got to choose from at the ranch that I can take up with me. And I feel a lot more secure because they'll let you know if there's anything in the vicinity at all.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then I'm not running scared half the time. So yeah, that 2 o'clock trip to the outhouse gets pretty interesting if you don't have a dog with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you just about don't make it.
So, how do you know me?
How do I know you? There was this lady as I was cruising through Facebook one year that was looking to lease a horse.
I just moved.
And yeah, and I put her on to a few people, and then I got to thinking, I've got this poor horse that's sitting here in my yard not doing nothing. And so I called her back up and I said, how serious are you about having a horse? And you were dead serious about having a horse. And I said,
Oh,
well, I think I've got one I can loan you. And that's where Gus come in to the into your life. And um I wish that horse could live forever because he had a personality that would not quit. He
oh,
helped Tommy pile up wood outside. If Tommy had the hood to one of the trucks open, Gus's head was in there with him,
mhm.
working on something all the time. He had free range out here,
Photo
and
mom.
he was an amazing horse. He was a people horse.
Oh, he was so funny. I've never come across like him.
Yeah.
He was love. And then uh you are the one I talk about Easy all the time still. And because he's buried right there, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, uh how did you get Easy to me?
How did I get him to you?
How did you get Easy
Oh, how did I get
to
easy?
me?
I worked for Jackson Hole Trail Rides in Jackson Hole, and the people that own that are really, really good friends of mine. And this horse, along with Gus, come in with 4 horses out of Illinois. And Gus, I think had been left a stud. He had the big jowls. He just had a studdy type of personality. Uh, you could ask him to do stuff, he'd do it for you, but you didn't make him do nothing, because when you started pushing him, he would balk and he would not go anywhere or do anything. He'd just stand there and kick.
He was
And
like a mule.
oh yeah. Yeah, he actually had the disposition of a mule. If he didn't want to do it, you better find the right buttons to push to get him to do it, because you aren't going to force him into it. You got to find a way to ask him to do it. If he understood what you wanted, that horse would do anything for you. But
Yeah.
if he didn't understand, and he's a horse I put new riders on when we go out to gather cows. If somebody says, I've never rode a horse before, they got Gus. And I will tell them, if you confuse this horse, he's going to stop, and that's where you're going to be. And I'll be back to get you eventually. So we would gather, start, and sure enough, if they confused him, I had to go back and get him. He would
Yeah.
just stop. He would not do nothing. They couldn't get him to go nowhere. He would just stop. And
Yeah.
so I could go back and say, well, what were you trying to do? And this, you can't force him into that stuff. And the wranglers that we had at Jackson Hole Trail Rides were all gonna bully him into being a horse, and it wasn't working well. And at that point, I had a horse I had raised. He was 5 that year, and I was riding him pretty good. He was my gonna get fat granny horse eventually. But that year that I had him in Jackson, that I was using him to take trail rides out on, I rode him probably 2 months, and then he just decided to start bucking me off. And it didn't matter what you did. I took him, had a chiropractor look at him. Um, I did everything I could possibly think of to understand why he was trying to buck me off.
Yeah.
And he bucked me off kind of for a whole month, probably 2 or 3 times every week. He'd buck me off. He never went nowhere, and I could get back on him and go ahead and finish my ride, but he would just put me in a pile eventually. And I got really upset and mad at him, and I took him back to the guy that owned the place, that owned the ranch, or the Jackson Hole Trail Rides, and I said, I'm over this guy. I'm getting too old to get bucked off and keep picking myself up off the ground. I think I was probably 55 at that point. And you don't bounce. The older you get, the less bounce you got to you. And I said, I don't care what you do with him. I'm kind of just going to I was so upset that I was just going to get out of the horse business. And he said, well, I'll tell you what. He says, you take that little Carmelo horse, which was Gus. He says, and see what you can do with him. And because they couldn't shoe him, they had to give him shots to get him shod. He was just, you just didn't push him, or he was big enough and he knew he'd win the fight. He was going to win the fight. Anyway, I took that horse and I rode him that fall, and I found out if you didn't beat on him, he'd do anything in the world for you. I mean, they didn't, that bunch of horses wouldn't drink out of a creek. You had to give them a bucket of water. For a long time, we had to pack buckets of water to them because they wouldn't drink out of running water. I don't think they ever did. They just wouldn't. And across a creek, it took me 4 weeks, probably a pretty constant ride, to get him where he would comfortably go into the water and walk across it. But really, after I had him for the winter, and I brought him back, and I worked all winter on picking his feet up and cleaning his feet, and the boss couldn't believe he was the same horse. I mean, he was a different type of horse. You just don't, you wouldn't confuse him with any other horse. He was who he was. but they couldn't
Gus
believe
was
it was the same horse. But
Gus, he was a legend.
he kind of was. Gus was, especially up here at your house. Up here at your house, he was a legend. There's no doubt about it.
Let
But
me tell
Easy,
people in the chat, I would go out riding every single day, every morning at 10 a.m. and then 6 p.m. And I would be on Easy and we would go out, for like 8-10 mile ride and come back, and Gus would just be following us, and
yeah.
people would come, well, would drive by or whatever, just, oh my gosh, they couldn't believe it. And those horses were attached like this.
Hmm.
They were the
Yeah.
best of friends.
Yeah. Easy kind of fell into the same situation that the he was a massive animal. Um
Huge.
he was huge. He really was huge, and he knew he was huge. And
Yeah.
Whoever broke him at wherever they trained him, they overtrained this horse to the point where if you got on his head and um didn't give him pressure, didn't release the pressure on him, he'd back right up over a car if it was in the way. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he was just that kind of horse. He's very sensitive. And we had a couple of people that were riding him that um they couldn't take him out on a trail ride because he would blow off the trail with them, or they would get on him too much and he'd back off a trail with them. And some of that ground is straight up and straight down. And there are a couple of times where he nearly put the fear of God into a few of them wranglers. And I the boss told me he was going to sell him to this certain person. I said, "Oh no, you're not. You're not going to sell that horse to that guy. That ain't going to happen," because I knew where that horse would have. I knew what would have happened to him. Um, uh, it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't have been good for him. And that's where I ended up with him. And he really suited you real well. He
Mhm.
really did. Hey,
He,
Gracie. Hey,
he and
Grace.
I fell in love with each other.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That
You know,
that
I would go and clean out his pen. He would follow me the whole time. He was like shoulder to shoulder. And then he would rest his massive head on my shoulder. And then he would look at me and wait for me to rake his stomach.
that was funny. He would follow her around the corral just with a rake, so that she'd rake his belly. That was pretty cool.
It got to the point sometimes when I would rake his back thigh. I'm not rake, I'm sorry, tickle his back thigh, and he'd put his leg up like a dog. It was hilarious, and I did never got a picture of that. But
Yeah.
the one time after that, I thought I had gotten bucked off, but it wasn't him bucking me off. What happened was it was right out here, and uh, coming off the hill there, and then there's a kind of like a little drop that, and then you cross the creek. Well, he started running down it, and he knew not to run down that with me. Well, he ran down it, and it was too much for me, and I didn't have a belt on the back of the saddle, so the back of the saddle went like this,
Oh,
and so I went flying off over his head. It frightened him because he thought I was injured. I wasn't
aw.
injured and he, as I was sitting there, I, just kind of, uh what just happened, kind of, you know
Getting your
and
senses back.
exactly. And he came up to me, Nickel, and he started nudging me with his head, like, come on, get up, come on, get up, like he would do with another horse that was down. Yeah.
Oh.
He was precious.
Doing? Huh?
So we are almost hitting an hour and a half here.
Oh,
So
wow. Oh,
I
wow.
know, Nickel, I'm going to go out to the Jenny and then I will make a big video for everybody. But will you come back? Because I still have so much more to talk to you about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I still think we need to have a cast iron Dutch oven cook-off.
Let's do it.
We still need to do that.
Well, let's make
I
plans and do
talked to Lido the other day. I said, we got to do that.
You know what? Let's make plans and do it.
Sounds
Let's do it.
good.
Yeah. Okay. So, does anybody have any more last questions for Nicole? Anybody? It takes
I
a
kind of
second.
lost the feed. It quit moving on me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, Mohammed has two quick questions, he says.
Yes.
And so it'll take a minute for it to come up. So, Nicole, this has been such a good.
Oops.
No, oh no. Oops. This is easier. Okay, but first, Gracie. Everybody knows Gracie. Gracie is the daughter of Nicole's dog that she just had up in her lap.
Yeah.
What was your favorite memory as a child?
What was my favorite memory?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I've had so many of them. I've really lived a pretty blessed life. I honestly have. It's been pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't really I'm probably gonna say right now in my stage of life is perfect as it's gonna ever get.
Mm.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Well, now his second question: did you ever wish you were born in and had a city life?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Nope, 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 nope. Never,
Mhm.
never would have entered my mind. My husband did drag me to Sturgis the first year that I met him, and we had motorcycles, and that was a culture shock. That was it takes a little bit to take a or to take a gal from the country like I am and put you into 500 different into that many people. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but
Mhm.
um especially when I wasn't real sure what I was doing or where I needed to be or um yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
I'll probably die in the mountains someplace up here.
Mhm. That'll be a day that my heart breaks into, and I don't know if it could ever be replaced.
It's just a part of nature, and as well as the rest of everybody that we don't always get a choice, and we live our life to the best that we can, and don't you be kind and forgiving and loving, and life's good.
Yeah.
It's just good.
And last question is: do you have a YouTube channel that they can watch? Oh, I think it quit on her. Her phone died. And so, you guys, we will do a part two sooner than later. Yeah. Okay. Here she comes. Here she is.
This got a Charlie horse, a dirty bugger.
Yeah. Dirty bugger. She got a Charlie horse. Okay, guys. Well, just 1 second. This is my friend Nicole, and I love her very, very much. Mm, you're such a blessing to me. I love you.
I
And
am so grateful for your crowd.
aren't they great?
What a crew.
Well, I get most of my views after the live, so this will probably go to about 500 or 600 within about 24 hours. Yeah.
Nice.
And so this was such a good interview that I think that it'll really take off.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sheeny beans.
love you both to bed. I remember Sheen. I know Sheen. Yeah. Well, you know what, you guys, thank you. Thank you very much. And
Very much.
And yes, very much. And we appreciate you.
Yep. I gotta
get
my salt out and treat my leg.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, you guys, we're gonna take off and we will see you. I will see you tomorrow. Okay?
We will get back.
Yep, and she says she'll be back soon.
I'll be back.
Bye, guys.